See the black pole? Hello! We're live. I'm gonna move this over a little bit. Oh, I see. Okay. I'm sorry. Let me adjust this for one moment. Okay. Can we get everybody here? Okay. All right, let's get you closer. Hi, everybody. Sorry it took so long. We set this up all last night, and still we had some trouble finding out how to connect all the little aspects of the YouTube Live. We're new to it, even though we've tried it a few times. Anyway, welcome to our Beatrix Potter Tea Time. I'm going to move Christina over. Christina, why don't you move your chair back and around?
Well, you might want to check that everyone, or at least anyone's there.
Okay, yeah. If anybody can see this, go ahead and push like or say something in the chat so we know that we're actually connected. Christina, let's go ahead and move you back here.
Oh, on that side?
Yeah. There we go.
So you want to go this way?
Yeah, I guess. All right, anybody there?
So
I'm not sure if we're connected.
There's 5 people.
If we're there, yes, go ahead. Okay, looks like, oh, Grandma's here.
Yay.
Good, okay.
There should be 6 people. Do you want to bring the table closer?
Yeah, that'd be great.
You can move back.
Okay.
All the way. There you go.
Just come up
that
close.
Way.
Juju, can't even see you though. Okay, come around here. Go to the side.
Yeah.
I have to move your chair. Like in the corner here.
I can move this
Okay.
That better?
Well, thanks for being so patient. We'll work out all the kinks. Continue to work them out each week, and we'll get
North Carolina saying hello.
More smooth as we go. North Carolina, hi! North Carolina, how's the weather out there? Let's see, it's what, 3 hours in 3 hours from
tell
5?
them they're not supposed to see them.
You can't see us.
You see us.
Can't see us. Oh yeah, I know we can't see you. I'm sorry, but but I can see what you're writing, so I'm so glad you're there. We have
Katie's here.
a lot of fun planned. Katie, welcome. Okay, we are currently in my husband, their dad's drum room. So we have some tea, but we also have some drum items in the background. So maybe one day we'll do a bunny drum session. The bunnies would do. And that would make Beatrix Potter very proud, I'm sure of it. So what we do is every week we have a poetry tea time with our family. And we just thought we would invite you. And we could have some tea together and some treats. So this week we're going to be reading Jeremy Fisher. Oh no, wrong character. Peter Rabbit. And Peter Rabbit, as you know, well, you will know if you haven't read it yet, he had, in the story, they had brown bread with currants. So that's what we have today. We have a variety of breads here. We have actually a cinnamon raisin bagel. Brown bread. They had blackberries. Oh, there's Peter. Hi, Peter. Thank you. And they had, let's see, milk. So we have our tea, we have our milk, we have our berries. But it's kind of like you just go to your refrigerator and your cabinet and you just pull whatever you can, pull out some treats. And so what we're going to do is, we should introduce you. What's your name?
Juliana.
Juliana. What's your name?
Christina.
Christina. Okay, these are my tea pals. We're going to start with a little riddle. A little rhyme. Christina's going to share it with you. Oh, want me to pour your tea for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so make sure you say it loudly, right out loud, and everybody can hear you, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so what's the name of this? Is there a title for this?
No.
Okay, it's just from Apple Dapley's Nursery Rhymes, written by Beatrix Potter. So we just go ahead and open it like this so we can see the picture.
Now who is this knocking at Cottontail's door? Tap, tap it, tap, tap it. She's heard it before. And when she peeps out, there is nobody there, but a present of carrots put down on the stair. Hark! I hear it again. Tap, tap, tap it, tap, tap it, tap, tap it. Why, I really believe it's a little black rabbit.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Christina. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is I'm going to read the story, and we're going to decorate some bunny ears. So if you already have them printed out, what you can do is we'll just cut them out. So we printed the bunny ears on cardstock, so they're a little harder, stronger. And then we'll do another band that will fit around the forehead, and you can decorate it however you like. You can use other colors of construction paper. You can use colored pencils, stamps. I want to see how creative people can get. You want to make these bunny ears because you want to save them, because we're going to do some other things with them on a following week, like bunny hop races and such. So let's go ahead and start the story, shall we? And then we'll get the bunny ears going. Okay. Ready? Actually, let me just show you something really quickly here. I have this little book, and I shared it for a moment on our last YouTube Live, our first one. This is the Tale of the Rabbit. Can you see it? Looks fuzzy to me.
That's fine.
Because the screen is enlarged.
Oh, see. And this was given to me by my grandmother, who just turned 100 in January. And she gave this to me when my brother was born. So I was 2 years old. I have been raised with Beatrix Potter stories. I thought they were fun when I was little, but I seem to enjoy them more now when I read them with my kids. And one of the original sizes was this small size. Beatrix Potter wanted small books so kids could hold them easily in their hands. And see, there was a lot of art. She was a great painter. She used watercolors very often, and she has a lot of fun characters that we're going to be reading together. She has Tiggy Winkle, Jemima Puddle Duck, and today we're getting to the Tale of Peter Rabbit. So I'm going to use a bigger version of it, and I bought this from the library years ago. They were selling it. And it has been well loved, and the binding is coming off. It's very sad, but it will still work for today. Okay, let's go to the first story. Okay, Christina, I'm going to try to read this and not bump your face. Okay, maybe we can move you to the side just a bit. Okay, there we go. The Tale of Peter Rabbit. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and
Peter Rabbit.
And Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. Now, my dears, said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I am going out. Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of 5 currant buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. Do we have our blackberries? Oh, we do. Look at those. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First, he ate some lettuces and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. And then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have got away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears, but his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. What does that mean? To implore someone to exert themselves. What do you think? It means
I knew this.
try harder, keep trying, don't give up.
Encourage.
And to encourage, Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter. But Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him, and rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed. "Kerty-choo!" Mr. McGregor was after him in no time, and tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, it was very damp with sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity, lippity, not very fast, and looking all round. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Then he tried to find his way across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still. But now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Screech, scratch, scratch, screech. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes, but presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing that he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go, along a straight walk behind some black currant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea. She gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoon to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread, milk, and blackberries for supper. That was the end. What do you think? Is that a good one? Does that deserve a round of applause? That was a good story. Okay. So this is our Peter Rabbit, this little jacket. Thankfully, he got it back. And there was another thing we were going to do today. We are also going to decorate some Beatrix bunny books. So if you have any notebook around, this would be the perfect time to pull it out. And if you don't have a plain notebook, an empty notebook, then you can even just take paper, fold it in half, and then staple it and make your own little book. So let me go ahead and grab our notebooks. Everybody get your notebooks together, your crayons, and I'm going to move this tea out of the way because we're going to have our craft supplies come to the table. Oh, you can take it. It's okay, you can have one. I'm just going to move it out of the way. Okay, move our note here. Okay, so we have 2 notebooks here. These girls are going to be able to decorate. Now, what we do with a bunny book, with our Beatrix bunny book, the notebooks are one of the most important parts of what we do with our story reading time, our story time. So what we do is, first of all, you can decorate it however you like. You can put your name on there. You can draw a bunny. It's not going to all be bunnies. There are going to be other animals too. You can put stamps. You could even paint something on there. Whatever you like for your book, you can put on. You can decorate it that way. And then you can just write in here. Sometimes it's nice to have a title page so you know what you're opening. You could say my bunny book or my notebook, my Beatrix Potter book. And then we'll have a few pages for each section.
Bread.
Yes. You're welcome. Some of the things they put in their bunny books, oh, and butter too, is they put, you're welcome. If there's a picture that comes to their mind of something in the story, they can draw a picture. If there was something funny that happened, they can write that in there. If, let's say, there were some new words that they're not familiar with, they can add those to their book because now they're developing more vocabulary words. They can, when they say things, they can use some really fun words that they wouldn't normally have used. So, for example, implored, remember that section, that sentence? They implored him to exert himself. That's how it went. So implore, if you don't know that word, you could write that in there in the definition. You could put exert. Also, sometimes kids have thought about a different ending. So you could put an alternative ending in there. You could write your own story about a bunny or Mr. McGregor. Whatever comes to your mind, you could put it in there. There are a couple things that I wanted to share about that story. There are these, when writers write a story, they have often learned different tools for writing. First of all, creativity and knowing English or the language they speak is important. But there are all these little tools that they can add to the story to make it interesting. So here's one. For example, it's called a literary device. It's a very fancy term, but it is onomatopoeia. That's a big word, but let me show you an example of it. It is essentially a word that sounds like the sound that it would make. So let me find it. Oh, it was a perfect example. Okay, it was with Mr. McGregor, and he was working by his cucumber frame, and it's taking me a moment to find it. Okay, girls are still passing their bread around. Around me. Oh, no, I cannot find it. Okay, here's an example. There are several examples in here. All right. This is not the way I would normally describe the sound of a sneeze, but here Peter sneezed, kerty-choo, kerty-choo. So it's actually the sound. It's actually the sound that the sneeze makes. So that's an example of kerty-choo. Now, sometimes we like to put in our books, our literary devices. So you could put, for example, you could put that in there, kerty-choo. It makes the story a little more interesting when you actually can hear the way it sounded when it happened. Let's see, I think that's all. The other example that I was looking for was when he was...
Simile.
Oh, there are similes too, yes. I didn't catch it though in this one. But when Mr. McGregor was working and he was scratching, scratch, scratch. That's another good example of onomatopoeia. Okay. So ladies, let's pull out. You can get started. Why don't you get started? This is our little craft box for now. And you're going to cut out their bunny ears. So go ahead. I don't know if you've already cut out your bunny ears. If you haven't, you can cut them out now. And I'm going to tell you some interesting things about rabbits. Okay, so ladies, go ahead. You have them on the back side. Do you have it too like that? Okay. So your bunny ears, cut them out, and then start the books. Now, I have this book. It's called the Beatrix Potter Book Club Organizer. And we're going to follow the stories in here, the order of stories. So this was put together one of our book clubs years ago. We like to circle back around to some of our favorites. So that's why we're reading Beatrix Potter again this year. Springtime is perfect for her stories. All the plants and animals. So in this book club organizer, oh, does that look like a familiar rabbit? I should say. Here he is. This gives step-by-step details on how to do some of the crafts, the snacks we would have, but it also includes fun facts about the animal. So this animal, obviously, is a rabbit. Did you know that rabbits are born blind? I have a feeling that, yes, they are. I have a feeling that other animals are born blind too. But rabbits are born blind. Do you know what a baby rabbit is called?
Bunny.
We like to say bunny, but they're not bunnies. If anybody knows what a baby rabbit is called, go ahead. Type it out. If you know how to find the way to type it up, let's see. I'll give you a moment. A baby rabbit. It's kind of cute. Do you know, Juliana, what a baby rabbit's called? I'll give you a moment to see if you can find it.
We can print these out as carrots too.
Oh yeah, the bunny ears look like carrots. It's true. Okay, it's a hard one. You might not know. Baby rabbits are called kits or kittens when they're born, when they're babies. So a baby rabbit is called a kit or kitten. There you go. That's a confusing thing. If you're talking about cats and rabbits, you're not going to be sure if you're talking about the baby kitten or the baby cat or the baby rabbit. All right. Next. What do rabbits eat?
Carrots.
They like carrots.
Oh, grass.
They especially like grass.
And vegetables.
Vegetables. They, with a carrot, I've heard that they actually like the green part more than the orange part. We like the orange part. It's sweet. They love their greens. Do they eat meat?
No.
No.
They're herbivores.
They're herbivores, exactly.
They're not carnivores.
They're not carnivores. Carnivorous rabbit, right? Be a little startling. Okay. Also, you want to know a thing about their teeth? Their teeth never.
I know.
Yes.
Wait, I think I know. I think this is
Oh,
for a
just
rabbit. I think
escaped
this is for a rabbit, but their lip is split so they can hold on to things.
Oh.
Oh, I think I know. Okay, so I forgot.
She forgot. Their teeth never stop growing. Can you imagine? I cannot imagine if my teeth never stopped growing. That might just kind of get in the way. That would be difficult to talk. But that's how it is with rabbits. Okay. Now, next week, we will be reading Benjamin Bunny.
Benjamin Bunny.
And Benjamin Bunny's snacks for that story, just so you know, in case you want to get them, if you're able to. He had rosemary tea in that story. So what we did for our previous book club is we made chamomile tea, and we picked some fresh rosemary in our garden, and we put the rosemary in there. It was delicious. And then pears and crackers. That's what we had. Now we will. Next week, we will have a chance to paint some pots. I don't know if you happen to have any old pots around, but if you do, we can go ahead and do that. Maybe what I'll do is make a template of a pot, and you can print it out, and you can decorate it too. If you don't have an actual pot and you don't want to actually paint that.
Have an actual pot.
We have an actual pot?
We
do. We have some pots. Maybe we'll consider painting pots. And if you have seeds, you can plant some seeds in the pot and watch some things grow. I know. We recently, it was raining. It was kind of a rainy day. And when the rain stopped for a little bit, we took a little seed packet we had and we sprinkled some wildflowers around our yard. Now Christina said she just saw some sprouts popping up. So we'll see, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Wonder how long it will take.
Probably a few weeks.
Probably a few weeks. Okay, now, typically in a book club, what we'll do is we'll share a story, we'll talk about the story, we'll do an activity. Often we do messy activities, the things that are harder to do in this setting. We do a lot of hands-on painting and planting. Sometimes, there you go! You got the start of a very nice. So what we have to do is make a band too, but we'll do that afterwards. Just go ahead and decorate your
piglet.
Piglet. Look at this pink. That's cute. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Sometimes what we'll do is we just got a new set of wax beads of all different colors, and you burn the wax beads and you pour it onto. You can seal an envelope if you're going to send a letter. And you can take a stamp. We have some metal stamps. And you push the stamp into the wax. And then when it dries, it cools, it dries, and it leaves the stamp imprint. So we did that. Sometimes we have wood burners. We burn into wood. So there's so many things you can do that are so fun in a book club. Usually we have a group of friends that we get together with. And sometimes they act things out and they share their what they put in their bunny books.
But we can't.
Yeah. So what I would recommend is for you to get some, if you have a couple friends. I know a lot of people are using Zoom and other types of ways to connect on the computer these days. So if you want, you can get a couple friends together. And after we're finished with our reading here and our activity, then you can connect with Zoom or another setting. And you can share those things with your friends too, because it's really nice to be able to talk about it and hear each other's ideas. So we thought we'd just get you started with the story today and the activity. I see what the girls are doing. Oh, wow. They are doing some abstract art on their bunny ears. Would you like to lift up your bunny ears? Yes. So it's a work in progress. Oh, see, we're doing lines. I love it. We're doing two-tone lines. Okay. Very nice. All right. Well, it's short and sweet. I think that's all we're going to have for today. So next week, bring your bunny books. After we finish here today, go ahead and put whatever you want. Also, So for parents to know, Beatrix Potter stories are in the public domain, which means that you can find them for free online. So I know, I think it's Gutenberg.org. You can find her stories there. I'm sure there are even, you could just do a Google search. So if you want to read the story again, you can do that. Okay, so for now, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
See you next
And
week.
don't read ahead.
And don't read ahead, yes. Jaden, could you mind ending the stream? Okay, thanks.
Cool.